You rest and sleep. Arsinoe, you sleep dreamlessly. Check your character channel. Julienne, you sleep dreamlessly. Check your character channel. Kaysen, you find yourself with a weightless feeling. You see something. A gabled roof with ochre tiles. A water wheel gently slapping the river, kneading it like bread. Each slap makes a pleasing little ploop sound. The sun is rising over the horizon, Kaysen, sending rays that are reflected over the lapping waves of the water. It is a chilly, windy morning. And you hear something. The sound of something scraping across the roof tiles. And then you see it. Something falling from the far side of the roof. Oh, it's an elf. His pauldrons are painted, and a pile of personal effects have come off the roof with him. A book, a carving kit, candles. And you hear a snap, and time slows to a crawl. First, things move at 1/10 speed. The water wheel slows, and its creak becomes a groan. Then 100th speed. In the slowest of motion, you can see him falling. His eyes are still closed, but you can see the rapid eye movement below his eyelids as time slows. Someone is here with you in this out-of-body experience, watching him fall. Most people find me the way you do. A moment where they have given up everything. And certainly you did, Kaysen. The figure in front of you continues to fall toward Toril. A red journal, tea bags, various projects and sundries are falling with him like a halo. The figure has bandages wrapped around his wrist, and you realize that the figure beside you is fixated on that as he falls. Turning to your side, you see an old human man clothed in shabby linen robes. His exposed arms have the character of a deeply used cutting board. There are many scars and wounds across them. He notices your gaze. Suffering and martyrdom are not the same, Kaysen. Many people suffer. Many people are tried by their circumstances. But what makes a martyr?
I I don't know. I feel like there's a lot I don't know. Like, why did you reach out to me? I always feel like I've been chasing after others' favor.
Ilmater's gaze darkens a bit. I reached out to you because you were experiencing this moment of great martyrdom. You had given yourself to other people for so long, and in that moment you needed me. Behind you, your own figure is still falling toward the ground.
I guess it's just hard to process everything that just happened so quickly. I wasn't thinking straight at all last night. Well, number one, I shouldn't have stuck my hand in a second vampire's mouth, and I shouldn't have punched Rick. I feel like I definitely could use some guidance. I just don't know where to start, you know? Maybe something, some way to make things right or better somehow with the bartender's brother that died. Is there some way that I could get some, not answers, just something to bring back for Mikhail, some message or something?
Closure. You seek to
I'm so
close the loop.
I'm so used to my spells, you know, being used to cause damage. I thought if I just use cure wounds and command, I could do something differently, but I almost killed someone with command. So I don't know exactly what kind of powers you're able to bestow upon your followers, but some, if I could just humbly ask for things like that, abilities that can do things like give closure, send messages.
You pray to Ilmater for his continued guidance. And behind you, you see the figure hitting the ground. His eyes jolt open. You blink, and you awaken in a lump at the feet of Rick Severino, who looks down at you and says, "Hey there, bud."
Oh,
And we'll
okay.
and we'll come back to you in a moment. Tilda Lochlaren, you awaken by yourself in your tavern room. Up already. It's strange to think that you do not really have a home for the first time in your life. Your mother had threatened to kick you out before. And in a way, you can successfully rationalize her actions led to you not having a home last night. In a way, she did kick you out. If there was no mom's obsession with publishing her magazine, then there is no reason to come after your family. No obsession, you still have your room. Speaking of which, what about all your stuff? Your clothes? Every memory you've ever had? Are all your sentimental items now ash, Tilda? You try to think of anything that could survive a fire. Some of your adventuring books were leather bound. Your favorite coffee cup? Maybe. You turn these thoughts over in your head as you walk through the tavern. You check your mom's door first. Maybe not even to see her, just to see that she's there. And she's not. Her door is ajar, and Tilda, you peer through the crack. The innkeeper is walking down the hallway and catches you in the act. He offers a terse smile that fits the circumstances as he approaches. He's holding something, Tilda. As
What is
Mikhail,
it?
it's a note.
It's
And
for me, I can tell.
that's exactly right. Without explanation, Mikhail tells you she left to look for your brother. She gave this to me to give to you. It is a brief note, and you realize as you unfold it, Tilda, that your mom's hands made the folds in this paper. Check your character channel. Jucky, you rest under a tree. There is a rut of earth underneath you that you settle into easily. You allow the brim of your hat to shield your eyes from the light of the moon. After a few minutes, you enter a deep meditative flow state. Your mind tumbles through many states of conceptualization, and time moves nice and slow, just like you like it. Evenings are the perfect time to indulge a vice. Do you have one of those, Chucky? What do you want here with you to go with a setting sun?
No. No, nothing like that.
Eventually, Chucky, the dawn rises over the horizon, and silhouetted against it is a figure walking down the road towards you. You realize that they are approaching you. They look like they need directions, Chucky. Who would ask you, slouched against a tree? Apparently this person. He has pauldrons painted like the sun and a sword lashed to his back. Hail. Which way to Isherin, brother?
It's so it's east, is it not?
Are you asking me?
Yes, that's correct. I'm just double checking myself here. I thought it was east.
It is southwest.
It's oh, okay. Wow, I was way fucking off.
But you would know that. You are aware of this. 2 weeks have passed since the last session, so I think this is understandable.
Right, I was just putting it in my head because I thought Mithranor is to our west, northish west, right?
It's to our
And
east.
so
Mithranor is east.
what the?
Yes,
Oh my god! Okay,
we are on the far. In fact, let's talk about this for the benefit of everybody.
yeah.
We are on the far west reaches of the Cormanthor, the massive forest that stretches over the center of the continent. At the center, on the eastern side of that forest, is Mithranor. This is the very edge. This is the very western edge of the Elven Empire of the Cormanthor. And you know that the ruins of Isherin, which was once the westernmost settlement of the Cormanthor, that is now lying in ruins, as is southwest of Evening Star at the very tip of the forest.
Okay. So, Jucky will look up slowly. What does he see in this person?
Arrogance.
I mean,
Glory.
between elves.
Yes. Arrogance is in your blood, isn't it? Yes, you interpret this correctly. Yes, and perhaps he is the apogee of that arc. He is at the far, far end of that elven arrogance. As you study him, he kneels down to look at you. The hilt of his sword rises up behind him as he looks down at you. He eyes your crossbow.
Jucky will say, "Do you really not know the way home, brother?"
He smiles. You feel a certain kinship with him, reflected in his eyes, as you talk about this as home. What are the toughest things about being in these human lands? They clear cut the forest. They cut the trees down, and natural landmarks come with them. I know I'm within striking distance, but I don't know if this is the right road. I thought that maybe you would, brother.
Jucky nods. He says, "Well, all roads come through here. But if you want to get to Isherin, you need to be headed southwest."
He extends a hand to help you up, should you choose to accept it.
Yeah.
The rays of the sun are behind him, silhouetting him against you, and as he pulls you up, the sun is in your eyes for just a moment. Who are you? Do I already know you?
Maybe if you're with Alcinerant's crew, you might. But I'm Jucky.
Solaron of Lathander.
Jucky tilts his head at that.
He looks like he's accustomed to that.
Jucky kind of like, there's quick math in his head, right? And he's like, well, then why would you want to go to Isharan?
There's a sword that I need there. You see, Jucky, I am the god of the sun.
Okay.
In the silt of the Elenair, I found a crown. The portfolio of the sun. Lathander's power, just waiting to be plucked from the mud. Amaunator is awakening to retake this domain. And I need a sword quickly. One that is a bit sharper than mine, and thus I go to Isharan, which my new friend Jucky told me is to the south and to the west.
That's right.
Well, he dusts off his hands. Good day, then. Thank you for your help, brother.
Sure thing.
The morning begins. You should now be level 5. And Kaysen of Ilmater, you find yourself at Rick Severino's feet. Next to you, there is a body.
Ow. Okay, I guess I deserve that.
You did. You really did.
Sorry about last night. I am glad you're alive.
That's okay. In my experience, people get what they deserve.
Kaysen's gonna turn and look at the body on the ground and just sort of like kind of try to reach out to the new magic that he has and just see if he can, sort of like not knowing what spells he has, just kind of trying to like almost like just like reach out over Andre and attempt to open up some kind of like channel of communication. Like basically attempting to cast Speak with Dead.
You try to intuit a spell. You try to intuit divine casting, almost like a divine sorcerer. You cast Speak with Dead on the body of Andre. Let me read the spell text of Speak with Dead. You corner the spirit of Andre. The corpse appears to you and some bit of Andre's soul sits up and looks at you. Until the spell ends, you can ask him up to 5 questions. The answers
Jason,
are usually brief, cryptic, or repetitive. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jason just kind of blinks and looks between Andre and Rick, and is just gonna look at Rick like, if a little light necromancy bothers you, you might want to step away. I kind of went through some stuff last night. I'm not exactly Lothandrite anymore. It's a long story.
Good thing I have to go to work. Yeah, have fun with this corpse or whatever it is that you're doing. Great job. You realize that a ruddy-faced human man is walking over. He's wearing the same uniform as Rick. They look at each other. Looks like they are off to work. You have the spectral essence of Andre appearing before you. Would you like some time to assemble your 5 questions?
Oh, I'm good. Whenever I don't know how long you want the scene to be, but mine are ready.
Go ahead.
You know this is what I plan out in my commute.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry to be bothering you. How did you die?
Throat cut. Arrows to liver.
Can you describe the person who shot you?
Came from darkness, shiny, armored. That's 2 questions.
How would your brother want to be informed, if at all, of your death?
Tough question for the dead.
Well, this might also be too open-ended of one, but maybe one about your own opinions might be more appropriate. How would you have liked your death to be handled? I suppose with regards to burial, that sort of thing.
Couldn't care less about my bones. That's 4 questions.
What color was the armor of the person who shot you? If you remember.
Can't see colors well at night. Farewell.
Farewell.
His essence dissolves into a pile around his body. You realize that the two dock workers are looking at you with a measure of bemusement. Rick's friend says, "What hole did we dredge him out of?"
I'm assuming no one else saw that. That tracks for my life. Don't worry about it.
Catching in with our two missive-equipped people, Julienne and Arsinoe. Do you have any questions, or are you ready to place yourselves? Anything unclear in your communications?
I do have a question, but it's not important right now.
Okay, got it. And I see your response, Jules. Would either of the two of you like to do anything or go anywhere, or where do you place yourselves? What actions do you take, if any?
Based on my missive, I will probably be where I am for the evening.
I think on her way back towards the tavern, Noe would check the Severino's house again to see if Ed is still there.
You do so. He's not. Something you know. Go ahead.
House is empty. Rick is not there.
Correct. Yes, no signs of life. Not a candle lit. Ed is no longer there. Rick is not there. Something you would know is that this is the harvest season. In fact, today is the day that the harvest would be starting. You wonder if Ed might be in the fields or getting ready to go out.
Can she check?
You absolutely can check. Where would you like to check, Arsinoe St. Cyr?
I suppose she'll check the fields north of the tavern.
You see, there are a number of wagons set up to receive sunmelons and a few bored-looking laborers sitting around wearing thermal red armor to keep them warm in the cool air. They look bored, like they're waiting for the day to start in a few minutes. Ed's nowhere to be found. Most of these laborers, you realize, are seasonal, not evening starins at all.
And of course, Alice is not among them.
Not among them right now, from what you can tell. Looking around, you do not see any obvious signs of Alice Osborne. Does she seem conspicuous? Go ahead.
Does she seem conspicuously absent? Yes, but Noe believes she knows what she must be up to. So there is some hope, I think, in her that she will see her among the living soon. Does she know that Rick works at the docks?
Absolutely she does.
Okay, I think she may try to go check northwards.
Checking north, you would see something. You see a couple laborers, Rick Severino among them, with his goofy friend, Johnny 60, whoever in Elmader's name that is. And you see
A new friend.
Kaysen having some sort of strange conversation with something. Kaysen seems to be talking to himself at the end of the road here. None of these people see you yet. And you could take this information and slip away undetected. You can see them and they can't. They're not really looking for you. You are looking for them.
Interesting. Okay, I think the last thing she'll check before she goes back to the tavern is Zanaya.
You search for your legendary unicorn. Where do you look? the no, I don't even want to prompt you. Go ahead. It's as open ended as possible. Where would you begin your search?
Well, I think there's a little stable, I think, across the river from the manor, um, where although Noe had been in discussion with her father about a magical way to keep Zanaya contained there, as it is otherwise impossible to get a unicorn to stick anywhere. But she would check the stable at least where regular food is set out for her to see if either she is there or there is signs that she has been back to eat.
You check to see if the artisanal food that you suspect is your unicorn's favorite has been taken from the steel trough that is on the far side of the stables across the river. You notice that some of the feed is missing. What do you think of that, Noe? Do you think, does your heart allow you to be optimistic and carry hope that Zanaya is the one that ate the food? Or are you pessimistic? Do you think that perhaps a errant horse found it?
I think she's optimistic.
You believe, don't you?
She wants to. It's sort of not allowing her to consider the alternative. All right, I think having made these check-ins, she will go back to the tavern to sort of try to sync up with everybody else. It is a relief, at least, to see Kaysen whole, if strangely located for the evening, but that seems par for the course for Kaysen. And although she had been hoping to speak with Rick Severino, she does not want to be seen by the rest of his gang at this moment. So she will slip away back to the tavern in hopes that Kaysen knows too. Actually, she woke up. She has message now.
Yes, your spells are refreshed. You could, there were several times during this sequence when you went to the northern stables that you would have been within range of Kaysen to send message should you require to. And in fact, perhaps after checking the stables on your way back to the tavern, do you wish to send a message?
Yes. Let me double check because I never remember if message is one way or two ways.
I literally have to
I
look it up
believe
every
two-way.
time. I don't know what my problem is. Go ahead. You said it's one way. I'm typing it in right now.
I believe message is one way, sending is two way.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. So one way she points towards Kaysen. I don't see a limit on. She says, "Good morning. It's Noe. It's good to see you. I am going to be reconvening with everyone at the tavern if you can meet with us in a little bit whenever you're done."
He looks around, like wondering where that's coming from, and like
It's a
attempts to
little bit
respond, but it
from
doesn't
above,
reach.
almost with a background of an angelic choir echoing in the space between her words. But yeah, that's all she says, and then she'll go back to the tavern.
You do so, reconvening at the Lonesome Tankard. In fact, let us actually give me a moment.
Do I have time to put a gentle repose on Andre?
Do you have time to put a gentle repose on Andre?
Just before we move to the tavern.
This is This is one of these things. So, this is a dumb question? Is Gentle Repose a spell? Or
It is.
Yes,
David,
level 2 spell.
okay, let's. I thought so. I thought it was spell. Let's look it up together.
After that, I'd
Basically,
like
it
to do
prevents
my
the body
morning
from
sequence too.
decaying or turning into a vampire.
No,
Or I think 10 minutes.
I see. I see. I'm sorry. What did you say, Sarah?
I thought this was like overnight and not the morning stuff. So there is stuff I want to do once the daybreak has come and everything like that.
100%.
Right before we reconvene.
Perfect. There is time, Kaysen, for you to cast Gentle Repose. Tell me more about what does this look like? What are you attempting to? What is your goal casting Gentle Repose?
So he will like lay his good hand over Andre. He's really trying to keep the meaty mess that is his left hand away from the decaying body. And he's going to sort of flavor the spell as a prayer of sorts and say, if there is some way to keep this body from decaying while we all try to just sort ourselves out and get our morning together, I beseech you, Ilmater, to protect this body.
You do so. As you conclude your prayer to Ilmater, you realize that Johnny and Rick are heading down the southern road.
Is there like visual evidence of the spell having been cast, like a glow or anything, or is it like no one else can see it kind of thing?
I'm not necessarily sure that this would have a visual effect. You do believe in your spell, right? You do believe in Ilmater, right, Kaysen?
No, I was just wondering if the others would see some spell nonsense going on.
No one seems to be paying very much attention to you.
Well, given the lack of attention, I feel the need to do something attention seeking, so I'm going to cast another spell.
You do so. What? What do you do? Tell me more.
Kaysen is going to attempt to cast Sending because he's feeling like he's having a good morning so far. So we're going to attempt this.
Okay.
He doesn't have any idea where this person is, so he's not really looking in any particular direction. And in fact, he's kind of just going to stand up and like slowly spin in a circle to try to get it to go in the right direction. So adding to the silliness factor. And he's going to target Ed. Your stubborn son is safe at the docks. Still can't find Ran. Andre is here. He's dead a while. Are you okay? Please meet at tavern.
Okay. Give me 1 second reading the spell text on Sending.
And that is all I've got for the morning. And I believe he can send back a 25-word response.
You can, and there's no. I thought there was range on Sending. Is there range on Sending? Doesn't seem like it. Fairly short spell description. So
You can send it across planes.
I do see that. Yes, you can send it to other planes of existence, but these planes are generally coterminous, so that doesn't necessarily mean there's a distance requirement. You are. Go ahead, David. You were gonna.
Sending has no distance requirement because it's the highest level communication spell.
Sounds right. You reach out to Ed Severino. You implore him to meet at the tavern, and you assure him that Rick is okay. After a few moments where you are unfortunately alone with your thoughts, wondering if he's going to respond, you receive a terse message from across the ether. Ed says to you, "Almost there." 2 words.
Well, that's not very fucking helpful, Ed.
And if I may, Sarah, let's go through your list of morning goals and activities.
Sure. Sure. So, the information that she has gained from Willoughby, she will write down in a frantic scrawl as she starts her morning. Unfortunately, forgetting to eat or get anything to drink, there's much on her mind. There's much on her mind. So, the first thing is write down as much as she can from the information gathered. And then there is a verse in one of the books she had reread several times and is stuck in her head. And she consults to her library to see if she can find a map, a geological map of surveys of the surrounding area of the sort, to see if she can find any known limestone caves within the area, or just quickly glancing through the topographical maps, if where known caves are, if some of the features kind of, I guess, meet those of what is consistent with a limestone cave, of the features she's looking for.
You look through the limited resources you have here. There is a geological survey of Evening Star. It seems that about 20 years ago, Laird's father sought to dig several freshwater wells here that access the water table that is refreshed by the star water. In reading this geological survey, you realize that the descriptions of limestone caves sound familiar. The types of erosion, the way that these caves tend to be porous and permit water, natural streams, it all seems very familiar. Excuse me. Sorry if you heard that. I couldn't mute fast enough.
Okay. So, if in her frantic reading that some of these caves are very familiar, probably with one in particular that we may already have stayed in, or just in general, her only command to Willoughby this morning, before she starts to frantically gather her things, is to have him go find these caves and verify, and have him come back to the tavern as soon as possible.
You do so. You read to Willoughby. His tiny bird head turns to the side as he listens to you give descriptions of what to look for, things that correspond to what was in this water survey, to try to see if he's able to locate any topographies that look like that. You hope that from the air, he'll be able to connect these patterns. Birds can find water, of course. And you do so. Sending him off into the air, he takes flight, and you see him begin to circle as he looks for what you indicated for him to be on the lookout for.
Wonderful. So, once Willoughby has been sent off, she will finish writing. She will finish writing down what she needed to write down, put that in her pack. She will then go ahead and gather up the map she was taking a look at, and she will put that in her pack. Based on her experiments that she conducted overnight, any results from that she will vial up, and she will put those in her pack in addition to what she has prepared for the day. And if no healing potions were being made here, she still has the small experiment set up at the inn, and that's where she was making some potions.
You do. You have... Go ahead, sorry.
So I was going to say that Julianne will need to go back to her room at the inn, which she so gingerly left behind in the middle of the night, hopefully not to disturb anybody or to be noticed that she's leaving to go back to her lab, because she hates sleeping at that inn. As would anybody when their home is nearby.
It's pretty rustic. There's always dirt on the floor. One of the consequences of having the little courtyard. You really don't like it there.
No, the food is tolerable, serviceable, but the beds could be much better, and, well, I sneeze every time I go in. But I will gather up my things, and I will quickly rush out the door and head towards the tavern as, well, as we agreed to meet upon in the morning. And she is going to seek out probably Rain and Tilda immediately, as she knows both of them should still be there, as the information she has is very relevant to them. And in her frantic, quote unquote, sprint, as fast as she can go, she's not going to make as many observations as she's cutting back through town to get to the tavern, as she's very single-minded focused at the moment. But she will take glances at anything of relative significance on the side of the road, but otherwise everything else she will pay no mind to. So if something is outside the norm, she may take a glance at it, but anything else she will completely ignore.
You're on the lookout for anything that seems out of sorts. You see, on the short distance from your lab to the tavern, you see little signs of activity. In fact, Julianne, it seems like one of the things that you were dreading, expecting, where are the elves of the West? Where are the soldiers who were just here? There's no evidence of them. You find yourself on the map now, by the way. Same with Arsinoe. You find yourselves on this map. Arsinoe, you find yourself in the back hallway of the Lonesome Tankard. Tilda, you are there, it appears. You are just outside your mother's room. What was your mother's room?
I assume I see No Way step in through the courtyard entrance.
Yes. She is looking a bit pale, but otherwise as put together as always. What is Tilda's vibes?
She's had better mornings. Hair's not exactly paying attention and obeying what she wants. Probably the same clothes as yesterday.
Yeah.
No way.
Tilda,
I'm so glad you're here.
I saw your mother leave earlier this morning. Did everything turn out okay?
Well, how are you?
She kind of like reaches over to start to fix like some errant chunk of hair that's not lying down flat, but like pulls her hand away before she actually makes any contact. And Noe sort of nods and says, I can't go back home.
Neither can I.
And I don't know where to go. I always
Wait,
thought
why
this-
can't you go back home?
She sort of lets her gaze lower to the floor, and she says, look, is there somewhere we can talk?
Tilda will look around and say, yeah, my mother's room is empty. It's at the end of the hall. I don't think anyone's going to bother us. I'll grab Noe's hand and drag her.
You do so. Chucky, you started this morning on the northern road, and something that you've observed is the flow of people heading from north to south and south to north. This road is used by a number of workers here in town, some of who live north of the river, as you can tell, and they must commute south across the bridge into town. You see a steady flow of people who seem unperturbed by what's happening in the greater scene of the world. Whatever more is happening in this universe, these people still have to make their nut.
What time is it in the day at this point?
Early dawn. It is right around, you think, probably 7:30 or 8 a.m. in your estimation.
At this point, Jucky has like it's called a blanket or a bedroll rolled out in front of him, and he is disassembling and cleaning every little gear, every little latch from his crossbow. It is in like 36 different pieces in front of him.
You spend a lot of time maintaining your crossbow, don't you?
That he does.
You study your crossbow as you put it back together. Your family has made these instruments for generations, and it has a certain elegance to its lethality. You would not want to be on the other side of these two bolts. Thankfully,
Very true.
you never seem to be. Let me know if you have any actions you'd like to take. Feel free to mull it over as you reassemble your crossbow and get ready in the morning.
Does Jucky know where Alcinerad is at?
You know from your prior discussions with him that eventually he will end up at Isharet. He is traveling to Isharet. That is where his journey ends. And you know it's a couple days southwest of Evening Star.
Okay, so he's definitely not in the immediate area, because he would have wanted to report on that. What do you call it? That crazy elf he met earlier, but it's not. But because he thought he was just some nutter, he wouldn't like prioritize that. So that's on the back burner.
Totally.
But if he was in the area, he would have walked over and been like, heard something weird.
I concur with this assessment. Yes, you met some religious nutter on the road. Unfortunately, not that uncommon of an occurrence. There's many people out there who are full of themselves and believe them to be the next coming of a deity. This must just be one more of them.
Mm-hmm. But then, obviously, his current goal is to find Arlen. And his best way of doing that, supposedly, is finding this Edward fella. But once he finds Arlen, was he then supposed to keep heading to Isharet? Was that the plan?
You imagine that all of the elves of the West would probably converge onto Isharet.
Okay, so Arlen's just making a pit stop here.
Exactly,
for
yes.
a supposed cure to his condition or something like that, right?
That is exactly right. He was here to trade something with Ed, information, and then you can assume that Erlen followed Alcinerat to Isharet. You are exactly right. You think that they you can assume based on the information that you have available to you, Juggy, that they probably this exchange must have taken place.
That's what I was going to say. Um, so
If there
does Chucky need to decide what he's doing right now, or is something going to
is something
force his hand in the near future?
That's a very elegant way of asking that. I appreciate what you're going for here. Nothing will immediately grab you in the near future. What would probably be the only hook there, the only thing pulling you a certain direction would be Ed may have more information about where Erilyn went. You could confirm these suspicions with Ed. Well, everything we've talked about in the past moment is you're turning this over in your head and you're applying all of your deductive reasoning, Jockey, but you don't have a lot of ways to back it up. Ed would know for sure if A, he was able to meet with Erilyn, and B, did anything occur? Did they in fact exchange this information? But far be it from don't take it as too heavy of a hand.
Right. But then, so there's only within Chucky's limited deductive reasoning, I might put it. There's only, like I said, he's not much of a tracker or anything like that. But one thing he does know, man's got to eat. I assume the tavern is probably the only place one would get a meal around here if they didn't get one at home, correct?
That's exactly right. This is a small town. There's not exactly, you're not in Mithranor. You're not in Selgaunt. There's no restaurants. This is not that kind of place. There's not fine dining here. There's not a big concept of cuisine. If you're a traveler, it's pretty much there's 2 taverns. If you don't find something at the tavern, I don't know what else you're going to find.
Once he has reassembled his crossbow and all that fun stuff, he will head to the tavern. Hell, maybe he'll get something to eat there. Who knows?
You do so, heading south along the road. And thus we find ourselves at Jucky's eventual destination. Jucky, you exist here now. And we find ourselves here at the Lonesome Tankard. Noe and Tilda, you have a brief moment to yourselves, should you wish to have a conversation.
No way, what happened? Tell me.
Hilda, listen. If I tell you, you could be in danger.
Who threatened you? No way.
Strictly speaking, my father. But his anger is justified.
I can't imagine that's true. And no way, listen. It's you and me versus the world. I'm not going anywhere.
She smiles at that. It's sort of a sad smile, but she does nod and reach over to pat Hilda's hands. And she says, to be honest, I've prayed about this many times, and my own connection to divinity has not diminished. If anything, I feel it only strengthening as we fight, as we go through whatever is happening in this town. But you've heard the rumors about vampires in town.
Of course. My mother even looked into it at some point.
He nods and says, well, I have come to understand that the origin of the activity at least starts in the circle of wildfire north with the druid that heads that circle.
Is
Is
that why
there-
the elves are here?
She takes a moment to think about it, and she says, "My understanding is that they're passing through on the way to somewhere else, but knowing Erilyn has been, depending on how you view it, either infected or gifted. I am not too sure anymore how that intersects."
Is that why Kaysen attacked him?
Erilyn?
Yeah.
I don't think he knew,
Wow. That's happenstance.
but I knew.
You knew ahead of. Oh, you're a paladin. I forgot.
She lowers her gaze and says, "And
And
I'm one of them, a vampire."
can I see your teeth?
She sort of stares at her for a moment and then kind of like awkwardly like grins in a way that really does not suit her face. And you do see that it's subtle, but her canines are pointier than usual.
No way. What happened? Did somebody turn you? What happened?
Yes, Des turned me, the leader of the druids.
Oh, wow. Why did you do it?
You know, my father was already in university when the first of his symptoms of his illness started to manifest in such a way that he realized he needed help. I was 4, and I grew up knowing how deeply my father struggled with the limitations of his own body, knowing that he looked upon me as a failure in his own right to be able to make my own way in a world that he has worked so hard to do good in, despite the fact that everyone thinks him twisted and sick simply because of the way that, again, his body betrays him. I suppose I wanted to know what it would be like to not be so limited by my own flesh, to be beyond illness and hunger and vapid needs. But it's really not at all like that. If anything, they just get louder now. I
I
don't
have to
know.
say, no way. That is so cool.
She blushes.
I can't believe you did that. That's so bold of you.
She sort of she commits to putting her hand on Tilda's shoulder and tilts her head and says, "Thank you, but my father is going to kill me now."
Not if I have anything to do with it.
Hmm. This is not at all how I thought this conversation was going to go.
No way. When I said we're gonna take over the world together, I meant it. It's good. It's you and me versus the world. Okay?
Okay. 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 But
Listen, I get it. This town's so small and so big at the same time. There's so many expectations on both of us. And, my family is so much more insignificant than yours. I can't imagine the pressure you had. I can't handle the pressure I have, and it's almost nothing.
it's not insignificant.
All I'm saying is I get it. And this town is as much ours, if not more ours, than our parents think it's theirs.
No, you're right.
And we deserve to be the ones making decisions, even if they don't like it.
We'll be the one to carry this town forward.
Exactly.
I want to put it on the map. I want to help you put it on the map.
Absolutely. It will be in the next Gazette.
Hmm. My mother told me last night that I should talk to Ed about all this, that he may be the only one who understands. My mother, I never told her directly. She just somehow knew.
Your mother's very powerful. And you can't whisper a secret in this town without it circulating the table.
Yes, I suppose in a way I should be grateful that, well, I lasted this long. But, your mentor is looking for people like me as well. And I'm
My
not quite
mentor?
sure why.
Rain?
Rain, yes.
Oh, why? What?
You remember during your party he was asking everybody to show their teeth?
No. I'm sorry. No way. I was just enjoying my party. I don't remember that.
Oh, well. I suppose he is odd. It would not have stood out beyond his regular strangeness.
So if you're a vampire now, do you want to does the sun hurt?
No,
It doesn't hurt? And you're not tempted to bite my neck or anything, are you?
she doesn't answer.
You are? Please don't.
I won't.
Oh, that's so cool.
I
Oh man.
believe the temptation is what keeps me still human in a way. We all have to fight against our baser impulses.
Well, no way. I'll put my hand on yours. Is it cold?
I think it may be a little cooler, but she's still warm. And if her heart still beats, she still blushes. There's something a little ethereal about her, but there's always been.
No, wait. Nobody in this town can take us down, including your father. I know you love him, but
I
he's
just
got some shit, you know?
I know, but I cannot imagine standing against him. I can't.
You don't have to stand alone.
I wish he would understand, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see what can be done.
Well, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. I. You know, you're like all I have left in this town. And I'm really happy you're still here.
She leans forward and embraces her.
I'll return the embrace and I will say, okay. So if you're here, it probably means other people are here, right? You didn't come alone?
I She sort of listens for a second. I did come alone, but I do hear activity.
Okay. What do we need to do? What do we need to do today?
Well,
I have I
what do
need
you
to
need? Your brother?
I I got in a fight with Mom last night. I'll show her the note. It reads, Tilds, given the character of our last conversation, I thought you would appreciate some space. I slept as little as I could to recover my spells, and now I am off. Just a quick note to tell you that I love you. I'm going to find your brother.
She smooths it out with her hand and sort of gives Tilda a bittersweet smile.
We said some things last night that weren't nice. She can be so mean sometimes.
I'm glad that you're standing up for yourself, but it is hard nonetheless to see your parents suffering. I get it.
She just blames me for everything, you know? Everything that's happened, she just blames me.
I suppose it speaks to how powerful she thinks you are, but it's
Or
still
weak.
unfair. No.
Well, certainly she would not approve of the spells I've learned recently.
Well, why not?
Why not? Because they don't do anything like what she does, which is just put words on paper.
Your mother is very specialized. She knows how to solve one exact kind of problem, but we have evolved to solve different kinds.
You know, everyone underestimates me. Maybe everyone other than you. I read a lot, and I think I can put those things to work. I think I can apply these things. It's not some mystery. Half of the people in Faerun can cast magic. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to, just because I haven't yet, and I've been forbidden to.
You've been forbidden to. I didn't know it extended that far.
Well, not explicitly, but, she doesn't approve of me tinkering with my cantrips. Magic is this controlled thing, and really, it's embarrassing for her to use.
Interesting. Suddenly, I feel I understand your mother better, if only to sort of pity her more.
Can you imagine this big rational world that she sees, and she has to go ask Mishra or whoever for some help? How embarrassing.
I wish more people saw magic the way that you did, not as a weapon, but as expression, potential.
I mean, I'm not tall and strong like you.
Well, I
This
don't
is
know
what I
that you've
have.
hit your growth spurt, yes, but
Yeah, totally. I'll end up like Ran, silver hair and all.
uh, so do you want to find your mother today, or
I'm sure she'll find me when she wants to. I don't really want to see her right now.
she offers the note back and says, "Yes, I understand space might be for the best." Um, I was speaking with my mother yesterday about the matter of how your house came to be on fire, and my understanding is that, if I understood her correctly, the Flaming Fists snuck some tool of my father's into her house.
That's my guess. We found some paint outside of the house that kind of matched the Flaming Fist regalia. Didn't really have time to think about it too much because I was looking for Ran. But that's part of my guess, but I'm not certain. I'm sure the paint's still there if we wanted to look, but
Yes, and I'm sure I understood the presence in our town to be looking after our lost taxman. So I am
I can't
not.
imagine that's all they have. Everyone who's come into this town in the last week has been looking for your father or Ed. They have ties outside of here, ties I don't understand yet. But when I figure them out, it'll make more sense. They're playing with things, or maybe they're selling things that are powerful.
She nods at that and says, "Well, this much I believe we can talk to the rest of the group about. Um, I suppose my bigger picture is that I need to deal with Des one way or another.
Tilda
If
will lower her voice. You mean kill?
if I have to. I hope it doesn't come to that, but
Tilda will nod slowly and then faster. Yeah, okay. Okay.
And she'll pat her hand and say, "Well, should we join the others? I saw Kason on the way here. He's supposed to meet with us shortly."
Okay, good. Yeah, let's do it.
Kason of Omater, you are still on the northern road. Jucky, you approach from the northern road. Julianne, you see Rebecca and Ed having a tense conversation at the bar. When you walk in, they both stop what they're saying, look at you, and try to pretend it was all just small talk. Kason, let me know what actions you take, if any, before you arrive here.
Not necessarily actions, just the way that I will be proceeding down the road. He's not walking really quickly, but also not tarrying much. Just trying to take it easy after the last couple days and, sleeping on a roof. So he's just, kind of going through his pack and just kind of gathering things up as he's walking. And he will sort of dust off the tome that he has, for the better purpose, never opened other than to glance at the most inconsequential things like recipes or hymns. He'll just say, well, I guess there's no harm in me opening it now, because what good is it going to do me if I'm not a Lithandrite? I guess it's harmless. And he'll just sort of kind of half brain browse it as he is walking along, probably not able to get through much, but more just the importance being on finally making his peace with it and opening it as he's walking down the road. And especially because he's not fully paying attention to his surroundings, he will walk through the tree line, glancing at the road mostly just to see if he sees anybody still laying on the ground, but otherwise avoiding the road.
You see no one obvious on the northern road. Anyone who you would have expected to be there seems to have absconded in the night. You half pay attention to the tome of Lathander. Something about this seems meaningless to you now. This is ephemera from a time when you believed in it. Now, it's insignificant to you. It is just recipes, just rituals that mean nothing. Things you don't believe in.
He will close it and wrap it up in a little cloth and put it back in his bag. And that is all from him.
You do so. Julianne, you see Tilda and Noe appear at the far side of the room. Noe and Tilda, you see your mother. Both of you see Ed Severino. They're sitting at the bar. They look like they just shared a secret and are now trying to suppress it.
No, you two don't have to stop your discussions when I'm around.
That's fine. I gotta go to work in a minute.
That's fine, as do I. I would like to go ahead and cause a little declare a ceasefire on our quarrels for today, if you will.
Sure. I didn't know we were quarreling.
Have we stopped? Something we do every day becomes the norm. You don't know that you're doing it in the first place after a while.
You're exactly right.
I know. Now, if you will entertain me a thought, have you noticed how quiet it is today?
It's a small town, isn't it?
Yes, and that's particularly the problem, because when anything happens in a small town, you hear it. A whisper in the wind, a pin in the field. You will hear it. It does not take much. And this morning, it is. Although everything is gone. The elves are
The elves,
gone.
you mean? That's right.
Yes. Hey, do you know where they have gone?
I do.
As do I.
Ed nods his head as if he senses there's a game, but he's not sure what it is. So you know, I know.
So what's the plan? Obviously, they used our town as a stopover point, and they're continuing on to some greater scheme, I suppose. Our town is going to be involved, and I imagine you have some idea in place of what's going to happen.
Out of sight, out of mind.
That's not feasible anymore, Ed. You know this. I know this. We can't ignore it. As much as I want to enjoy the harvest season as much as you, we can't.
Sounds like there's a proposition in there. Got something you want to ask me?
Several things. But the main thing is, one, I need to know what's going on between you and Laird, and I need to know what's going on between you and the elves, and why some bog walker was out here last night looking for you. Did you meet up with this man?
What's a bog walker?
Slow on step, sturdy, kind of a little sluggish. They've definitely seen a swamp or two. Had a bit of a drawl to his accent.
He narrows his eyes. For once, Julian, I'm actually not sure what your game is. What's going on between me and the Laird? Let's start with your first question. The ordinary pleasures of an old friendship is what's going on between me and Laird.
Yes, but I've known you two for going on 2 years now at this point, and I've observed your friendship, and it's never been as catastrophic as it's been now. Something has happened. Something has put a wedge between you two, so to speak. I have ideas, but none of them are conclusive between what's gone on between you and, well, our fine folks in the Flaming Fist and the elves and everything like that, and just all the other things that happened over the couple of days. It's been a lot. And never mind the fact that we also need to deal with the fact that the Flaming Fist are going to be here soon, as the elves have already departed. Our taxman's gone, still. And I'm the only representative left in this town. And I don't want this duty.
You realize that Rebecca is eyeing you up. She makes eye contact with you across the bar, no way. And then she sits a bit closer to you, Julianne. You realize that her hand is on the hilt of her rapier. You're asking so many questions about my husband. Is there a reason that you're butting in?
Well, I am his primary physician.
So this is
Look, I at the very least have the right to know some semblance of what's going on, because I have been treating him for well over a year. I put so much effort into procuring ingredients and everything to keep him alive.
So you need what?
And you want
Gold?
And you want to take your rapier? No, I don't want gold. If I wanted gold, I would have taken 30% of the tax fund from the Flaming Fist that they've been doing every year. Do you think I give a damn about gold? No. If I gave a damn about gold, I wouldn't be in this small town. No, I have greater aspirations than mere coin. Now, why don't you take your hand off that rapier and calm down?
She glowers. Her upper lip quivers just for a moment. I don't take orders from the likes of you. I'm so sorry to say it.
That's fine. Whatever you say. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the bill for your husband will come due soon then, and I'm not cheap. I haven't charged you yet, but maybe I will. Or maybe, I don't know, the next potion he asks for, maybe it'll be a little sour.
Julianne.
Rebecca narrows her eyes. Did you just threaten to poison my husband? Is that what you just said? Her hand curls around the hilt of her rapier.
Yes, I did. And you should know by now that's not something I would do, as I've been your trusted physician for well over a year. And the fact you are distrusting me now is insane. Because I want answers to all the mishaps that are going on in town that, for whatever reason, your husband is surrounded by, plus Ed is involved with this so-called friendship, and then all these other misbegotten events? Well, what is going on?
Ed stands up from the bar and stands next to Rebecca. They look between each other. Ed sizes you up, Julian. It's probably a really good thing that I have to go to work.
Well, I do have a full stock of potions on me of new volatility, suppose, and we did call a ceasefire, so I did this for your benefit, not mine.
I'll stand up across from Ed, next to Julianne.
Rebecca looks at her daughter across the bar. The company you keep is so interesting, daughter. Would be that I could be accosted in the tavern all day, but I'm going to go take this to your father. She takes food from the bar. She, with an exaggerated hand, Julianne, she lets go of her rapier and swipes food from the bar in her brown bag.
It would generally be nice to know what's going on in this town. Everybody's so secretive. Everybody has so much to defend. And the people who suffer from the decisions are me. The people of this town. And you know, it's a bit exhausting after a while.
What are we doing? We're trying to ship some sun melons. Do you know the Flaming Fist is going to be here in 2 days to orchestrate this, to get these loaded and shipped and paid for?
As
Have you ever-
Tilda is talking to Ed, can Arsinoe's subtle spell detect thoughts on Ed?
Yes.
Literally about to do that. Nice.
Yes. You use Subtle Spell to cast Detect Thoughts. What is your spell DC?
It will be... So she'll be able to read his surface thoughts for free. If she chooses to probe deeper, it will be a 15 wisdom saving throw.
Okay. You attempt to delve into Ed Severino's surface thoughts. He is thinking 2 things. One, he's thinking about He just needs to make this last a few more days. Just bridge a little bit more time, just a little bit further, just another couple days. We're going to get through this. He just has to keep the lid on for another couple days, please. And the second thought is he can't wait to shut Julianne up. Do you dare delve deeper?
No.
So when you sense there's something just a little bit deeper. Who's he talking to? Who would Ed pray to if he had to? Should you choose to delve deeper, maybe you would know, but maybe he would know. Perhaps I said that in a circular pattern. Do you know what I mean? If
Yes.
if you dig, he'll know that you dug.
She is trying to get his attention anyway. She'll dig.
You dig. Let me roll the insight saving throw. DC 15. He fails. You detect that in this moment, he's not praying to Malar, but something far darker and deeper. Something
Jar?
dark. Something in the shadows. You're free to make that connection. Should you connect those wires, Ed's quivering brow cannot stop yours in a way. He makes eye contact with you. He glowers. Does he know?
You know, we're not the ones who tried to start a fight at simple, reasonable questions. Why is it always a fight? What's wrong with you?
Do you... You don't. I was going to ask you if you had any idea what it takes to keep things together here, but obviously you don't know. You have zero appreciation for anything that's happening at a level above you. How could you? You're too young to get it. I understand. You have no idea how
A
hard
level above me? Maybe
everybody
it's because
works.
somebody's hand is on my head holding it down the whole fucking time.
Take it up with your mother. If death hasn't
I'm taking
found
it
her
up with
yet.
you right now. You who can never be held accountable because you're mean. Ooh, we're so scary. Go, work the sun melons. Reasonable excuse, as always. Scoot away before any question gets answered. You know, so transparent and honestly sad.
Jucky swings the door open.
You do so.
Did Jucky, like,
Yes.
real quick, did Jucky just, like, see me and be like, nope, and then just walk inside?
Nope, he's just on his way to the tavern.
You
So,
swing
yeah.
the door open. You see what is transpiring. You see a very tense situation. Ed is standing between Rebecca and, not that you know these people, Ed is standing between Rebecca and three people who seem to have squared up with the two of them.
Jucky takes slow, deliberate steps inside the tavern, allowing his chainmail to clink and clank as audibly as possible to try and cultivate an aura of menace.
Roll intimidation.
You got it.
I'm gonna roll against you.
9.
What are you rolling against it?
Wisdom. That failed.
You see
Classic Tilda.
something very menacing. Tilda, you see a male elf holding very comfortably, hefting it like it weighs nothing, a crossbow with 2 bolts loaded. He walks in like he means something, like he's looking for someone, something, and certainly has no time for you. Kaysen, you see someone walking into the front of the tavern. I'm sorry, Joel, go ahead.
You get +8 to your saving throws, both of you, because you're within Noe's aura.
Do I still fail?
Now, with that
Okay.
+8, you wouldn't.
Fair enough.
No, you
I
pass by 1.
I think that probably with the +8, you sort of at the last minute you realize that you're bolstered by Noe. You feel you feel intimidated for a moment, yes, and then you realize that you have an incredibly strong paladin standing at your side. She's wearing armor. She is rather dangerous. She is not someone who, she just told you something about herself that maybe makes her even less of something that you'd want to be trifling with. So you were going to fail this save, and then you realize at the last moment that you were staying next to someone who you have said you're going to go down the ship with. So suddenly you feel a burst of, well,
Somebody's got my back.
exactly, precisely.
I thought the elves left. I'll look at Ed.
Well, if it isn't the Bog Walker.
Jucky is scanning all of their faces, and he realizes he can't quite tell any of them apart really anyways. So he is going to simply ask, not knowing if these are the same people we've seen or not. He's going to say, "Are any of you Edward?"
Ed Severino takes a brief pause from squaring off with the three of them to look over at you. What could you possibly want? Maybe
Are
this
you
is why.
me?
You know, Tilda, maybe this is why it's so tough to get anything done in this town. Just when perhaps you would have achieved some kind of enlightenment, in comes, I'm your...
On business.
You know, if you were listening to me a moment ago, you would know who this person is. But that's why you can't get anything done, because you don't listen.
We were just going.
I don't think this gentleman's going to let you go.
Ed
I
raises...
just need a real quick chit chat.
Sounds like
I'll
he
take
just...
a step back from Ed.
Sounds like he just needs a real quick chit chat. What's the worst that could happen?
I keep telling you, the DM is not allowed to say that.
I mean, I don't
It's just
know.
not fair.
Julianne at the bar, Mikhail leans down towards you and says, I don't mean to interrupt. I know everyone has a lot going on. But have you seen that foul little goblin?
You know, now that you mention it, I haven't.
I'm pretty
it
sure he stole everything from my kitchen. Well, not everything, but certainly enough.
That's not good.
Do you think would you be willing to, if when the Flaming Fist is here, would you be willing to see if they'd be willing to match a bounty if I provided one? I know that's customary. If I put up 5 gold, they'd put up 5 gold too, making the reward 10
Yeah. If it's standard protocol, we'll make it happen.
for the return of my stolen goods. And
Yeah, of course. Technically, the goblin was kind of in my care, so I'll at least pay for some of it.
and if you could, again, tell them about my brother. I'm sure they've seen him on the road.
I will. Don't worry. You know, I adhere to requests.
No way, you're approaching your mother, who looks a bit boxed in and makes long eye contact with you, perhaps for assurance that you are on her side.
Yeah, Noe gives her a smile and sort of gestures her forward. You were about to take the food back to father.
Yes, I'm just taking something to your father. I don't know who this man is or what he wants with Ed. There's nothing transpiring. There's nothing going on here. I'm simply trying to keep you safe. I'm going to take this to your father. Please just let him be. You know why. Just give him distance for your own safety.
Did you already speak to Ed?
Both of them nod their heads.
Noe nods and goes to kiss her mother on the cheek before sort of like trying to accompany her out in a protective manner, like, here, I'll show you to the door, so I'm getting between you and this evidently strange man. She says, I met him on the road last night. He's just wanting to speak to Ed about something. I assume Marilyn. And Al-Cinerat need it from him.
Arsinoe, be careful. Sometimes people can say they just wish to talk to you as a pretext for trapping you, and I know that Ed knows that far too well.
She nods at that and says, well, we are Evening Starans. We outnumber him, so. And I hope Josan is recovering okay as well.
Your brother is safe at home.
And you haven't heard anything about Ran yet? Ran Lochlaren? Okay.
She shakes her head silently and brushes her hair behind her ear. If you're showing me out, I sense now would be a good time.
She will take her by the elbow and show her to the door. I think Kaysen also came in at some point too, sort of snuck in, it seems like.
Literally, yes, that's exactly right. Basically, when Chucky was commanding the room, Kaysen had been eavesdropping outside for quite some time, like slinking along the walls, and took the opportunity to come in. And there is just a physical weight of shame over him, and he doesn't say anything, doesn't look at anyone, and basically just goes up to the dining table and just
Tilda's
just
already
kind of
sidled
down
up
on
next
the
to you.
table.
Where did you disappear to last night?
Oh, where to even start? I went looking for Rick and Ran and Andre.
Oh, you got drunk.
No, I wish. Because I'm stupid, I went by myself. And I did more stupid things on the way there because I can't just focus on the task at hand, Hand, get it?
Noe will reach her hand out to take his. What's it look like? Is it mangled?
He has it thoroughly bandaged up. It basically just looks like this, but just his whole arm is just covered in layers of dried blood and grime.
Can he articulate his fingers, or is it just a slab attached to his arm?
Mike, you can give some description on this. I'm kind of imagining it's moving about with as much efficiency as a prosthetic, maybe, at best. Kind of moving.
I think it is as you. I trust your descriptive qualities here.
Everything is just very rough and clunky. He's definitely lost a good amount of fine motor skills. His thumb is exposed and closed up, but from the vampire bite, it just it looks like manager special hamburger meat.
Ooh. Can Arsinoe do a medicine check to see if this is something magic could heal, or is this just one of those wounds that has to heal by itself?
It's no medicine check necessary. This seems like a gruesome flesh wound. Could be healed from what you could tell. You see no obvious reason why it couldn't be. Certainly, it's a disgusting open wound that must have been tended in the field. You have worries that there might be dirt in it.
Do you
Yeah,
mind
let's-
if I look at this? Why? I mean, you must have been exhausted. I have no idea what happened to you last night, but you have the ability to lay on hands as well.
I did. Don't anymore. You can look at it.
Oh no.
And he'll unwrap his hand and hand it to you.
She'll spend some lay on hands points to try to at least disinfect it, try to get it looking a little more like an actual arm.
I broke my oath last night.
What happened?
My
I'm so sorry, Kesa.
my foolhardy, impulsive, stupid, bleeding heart guided me again instead of what little brains I have. I found yet another of everyone's favorite little sharp-toothed creatures on the road and tried to get information out of him. He tried to get information out of me. He seemed rather concerned that there was someone out to kill him, and I wouldn't give up who that person was. And we got into a fight, and I refused to kill him.
By sharp tooth, you mean vampire?
Yeah, they're just kind of coming out of the woodwork these days, aren't they? I didn't mean to get into a fight. I started off trying to give him blood, and he took my... tried to remove the hand that fed him. So that's on me. I gotta stop doing
What did he look like? It wasn't Darylin.
Oh, no, it was that... You know that smarmy bard on a horse that came by the tavern earlier? He had a funny 2-letter name. Q-E? Q-E? A bard. You guys saw him. He was a human bard. He came by looking for work. Anyways, he made Erlen look polite, to be honest. Yeah, I nothing really happened, but I felt like a crossroads. Like at some point I would have to make a decision, and it's like, you know, if you're Paladin of Lathander, you're obligated to kill undead things, and I've never killed anyone before, and I didn't want to start, so I gave up my oath, and someone else reached out to me, and that's not even the half of it.
So you have a new oath?
Not
can
an
do that?
oath, not a paladin anymore. Ilmater?
Ah, the bleeding god.
Yeah, he's
How thematic. I'll point at your hand.
yeah, he clarified that was definitely about the timing of it all. Yeah, oh god, what else even happened? Kiwi's not dead, he's still out there somewhere, so if you see a human or maybe half of bard, just keep your distance. I don't think he was satisfied with just my hand. I found
Casey,
Rick. Rick's
You
all,
should
"Huh?"
really... We're here for you. You should really not go off at night alone. It's dangerous, and we don't want you to get attacked by a vampire in the middle of the night.
I know, but there
We
were
don't
just...
want you to feel like you have to tackle all of these problems alone, or that
Yeah.
you're the only one who cares.
Yeah, I won't go off by myself again. This has just shown me how important it is for all of us to stick together, especially because I found Rick. Rick is okay, but I couldn't
you see
find
Rand?
Rand, and I didn't see him. I checked basically the bridge and the North Road, and he'll kind of like subtly peek over to the bar.
Mikhail is there polishing a glass. You sense that he has just said something to Julienne.
Well, Rick was the one that found him. And he
Jason, why don't
didn't.
you get something to eat and relax a little, and we're here. It's okay.
Jucky, Ed has sat down at a table and gestures to the bench across from him.
Jucky will stand.
Whatever. You've got 2 minutes of my time. My whole union's waiting for me.
Remind me of Ed's dimensions. What are his physical characteristics? Weight, height?
Ed is large and broad.
Thought so. Jucky walks over and he leans down a bit. He says, "You were supposed to meet with somebody last night."
He remains perfectly silent. His eyes widen a bit.
I'm curious as to the outcome of that little fateful meeting.
He looks like he's thinking about what you're saying. It's nothing that clandestine. I had information, they had information. We talked it over and everybody's happy. I get what I want in a couple days.
And where is Captain Arlen now?
Probably halfway to Isherin by now. Well, maybe above Isherin by now. If you wanted to find him, well, I think you're taking the roads, unless you've got a griffin stored somewhere in that hat.
That Jucky does give just the slightest chuckle at that.
Anything
I
else?
will-
It's a good.
Oh God, terrible stat for me, but maybe that's for the better. Could I roll insight to see if I feel like he's holding back either A, that this didn't go well, or B, he didn't meet him at all, something along those lines?
Absolutely. Yes, you can roll insight to see, is this a face level deception? Is he simply trying to.
Get rid of me.
Exactly. Is he trying to punt on this conversation? Sure, roll insight. I think this is pretty straightforward. It's up at DC 10.
Oh boy. This went better than I could have possibly hoped for. It's a nat 1.
A nat 1.
Bring me to a total of 1.
Bring you to a total of 1. With a 1 on die and with your modifier, you have a sense that Ed is being completely straightforward and transparent. He looks at you and you have a sense that he, just like you, is the salt of the earth. He must be on his way to do exactly what he said. He's going to work the fields. This little meeting took place. All is good, and if you wanted to see Erlen, why, he's at Isherin, just as indicated. What reason would he have to lie to you, Jucky? Also, he's just a human. In your estimation, humans are not capable of deep deception. They're just not smart enough. Their simple minds keep them tethered to their simple plans. It's sad, but true. That's what you get with your 1 on die.
Fantastic.
So what else? I said you had 2 minutes. I think we're coming up on the end of that. I'm not trying to be unpleasant, just trying to make my way to work. The sun is rising. The fields call to me. I have to do Malar's duty.
Well, you're right. I guess we both better get busy then. And Jucky's going to walk out of the tavern?
You do so. Ed follows you. Or I should say, Ed walks the same direction you do, not following you with intent. Where are you heading at the crossroads there?
I have no fucking idea.
You you have a sense of rudderlessness.
A
You
little bit.
you do. Ed sees you and you hear him chuckle. It almost seems malicious as he heads north on the road.
So, did any of you find anything last night? I mean, I know God, it feels like there's so much to catch up on, but did anyone find any hints of where Ran is, just to start?
At my house last night, I'll nod at Julianne. We found hoof prints leading to the west. Rain seemed to think. Well, he seemed to think that my brother had something to do with the house being blown up.
Was there hoof prints? I mean, did he leave anything behind at the house?
There was some paint that we found in front of the front door.
Do you remember what colors it was?
Purple, orange, red.
The main
I was
lines
guessing-
of the door were yellow.
Say that again,
Oh.
Julian?
If I remember correctly, the main lines we saw in front of your front door were yellow.
Oh, that makes sense.
Can you
Well, I
speak
gave
up,
him-
dear? You're kind of mumbling.
I gave him my shield before we split up.
Ran?
It probably melted. Sorry. Those were the colors of my shield. It
I
was
don't
a
think he was in the
samurai.
house. If that's your concern.
Yeah, I hope he just dropped it and ran, but I think that's what that was. So it was a red and yellow and orange sun coming up in front of purple and blue and silver.
If it's of any sympathy to either of you, with how the wood was burned in the house and how much ash was still remaining, if his body was there, we would have seen the bones.
Also, he was with us when it happened.
He was. He was, I remember. I was healing him from a wound.
There's a kind of magic, divination you can do on objects, right?
Yeah, I wonder why my mother didn't do it. All last night, she was sending me all over the place to look for Ran. Why couldn't she do it? I don't understand.
Can you
She's probably
divinate
exhausted.
a person? I'm fairly certain a person isn't an object.
You could definitely scry on a person.
Why not scry the arrowhead that's still stuck in his skull?
Whose skull? I'm sorry, what was that, Julia?
My brother's skull, you mean? Josan?
Yes.
Well, Josan is not Ran. I cannot understand how you would mistake them. But
Well,
if he
it was a
has
chaotic
the
moment. I'm
shield-
sorry.
It's all right. I'm sorry. I'm teasing you. If Ran still has the shield, we could locate that potentially.
I can't do it. I don't know why my mother doesn't.
Well, she must be out there trying to do so. Well, but she wouldn't know about the shield.
I was gonna ask, does she even know about the shield?
No, but she can find people leagues away. I don't understand the problem. This is magic, not some common basset hound.
You know, my father might be able to do more extensive magic.
If you wanted to.
Your father needs. Never mind.
Jason is gonna step up and just kind of like silently motion that he needs a moment and just like temporarily breaking off from the conversation.
Juliet,
Yes.
Ed and Ed and Mrs. St. Cyr wanted to hurt you.
They always do, dear. It's fine.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't let them do that to you.
They're not going to get far at all. Do not worry. I have contingencies upon contingencies, especially for those who eventually don't pay their medical bills. Not that I charged them to begin with, but, you know. It is a matter I've accounted for. It is okay. Ed is just...
This wasn't about medical bills.
It was not. No. No.
You're
I
the
want
only
answers.
Flaming Fist person left in this town.
I'm not even Flaming Fist. I'm just a liaison.
You think that matters
them...
to Ed?
No, it doesn't. I use them through my mentor to get assigned here so I could have a research project funded because there's things I want in this town. And now I'm stuck being the liaison because of it, because our friendly tax man is gone and our only other representative is dead and in the woods in a wheelbarrow.
We're all doing something that we didn't seek out to do here. What really matters is what we'll do next.
Well, I might have some insight onto that. So I was hoping Rain would be awake by now, but...
I thought elves don't even sleep.
He does. He's probably caught up in thought or deep in meditation, or maybe he finally actually researched something for once.
He turns around like, you're telling me I came here looking for a rusty sword in a catacomb somewhere.
So, this morning, last night I sent Willoughby out to try and keep track of the elves and everything like that, and he gave me a report.
That's your bird?
Yes, you know who Willoughby is.
Why are you being rude? I just asked the question.
I'm upset how you could forget Willoughby.
And you forgot my brother a minute ago, and I forgave it. Can we please relax?
Look, one of these things is more important to me than the other, okay? So, and it's the same for you, okay? Look, we both equally love... Anyway, let's continue. Forgive and forget. So anyway, the information...
on me, of course. Continue.
No. This is on me. I have a lot going on, and so do you. But anyway, Willoughby gave me information about the elves. I was trying to get confirmation out of Ed, but unfortunately his sour ass, being all of a princess that he always wants to be, just will not fork up any words that aren't a grunt and a mumble, such as a man as he. Anyway.
Does Ed seem sick to you?
He does. He, not necessarily sick, but last night he was acting drastically different. More so than usual. His demeanor has changed. He's more impulsive. He's more reckless. And he's fighting with your father. I don't know the details. I really wish I did, but something in the past 3 nights has shifted and has caused him a personality shift as well. Or it feels like that to me.
Could it be a spiritual sort of affliction? I mean, are you experienced in these things? Is this something you could detect?
Spiritual? No, unfortunately. I can still deal with magical things, but spiritual is unfortunately long past me.
We can ask Kaysen when he comes back.
I'd rather not involve him.
We're all involved.
Kaysen?
I don't trust Kaysen still. I don't know what his motives are, anything. He's been here for 2 days and...
You haven't tried to get to know him very well.
I haven't been able to stay around him for more than 3 minutes without him running off in one shenanigan or another. How can I trust somebody that just immediately has an impulsive thought and then shoots down a griffin and then does all these other things? Maybe thinking about the repercussions instead of just doing something would be way more trustworthy instead of just leaving.
Julianne?
Let me get back to... Sorry, let me get back to what I was talking about.
I think you need to eat.
That would be lovely. I put a note for Mikhail to make breakfast, and he has not done it.
Okay, but you're yelling at everybody, and I don't like it. And it needs to stop. So either eat or apologize.
I am sorry. There is no food ready. Breather.
I'll look at No Way to see if she accepts. Or even cares.
Noe's like... She actually looks impressed with how Tilda handled this. Because she was ready to just write Julianne off as like, oh, it's just her going off again.
Okay, let me get back to my information. Willoughby saw that all the elves are heading southwest, towards the woods. Forest. He has no eyes past the horizon. He cannot see where they're going, but in the swiftness of the night, they've all moved in that direction. No traces. Have you noticed how quiet it's been? That is where he saw them going. He was tracking them all day and all night.
Which direction did you say?
Southwest. And that's also, we saw the 2 horse tracks leaving yesterday west. And once you go west, you can turn south. Is there a correlation? I don't know, but once again, many coincidences are lining up.
Well, I had the opportunity to speak with Lord Elsinarot yesterday, and he was saying that there was a location of cultural significance to the elves that they are trying to move towards that Ed knew, which I assume is why they needed to speak with him. But you're saying that there's something untoward about all of this.
Yes. Yes.
What makes you think this is the thing we need to deal with immediately?
Well, consider this. With everything that's lining up, we can kind of just maybe piece some things together. Before the elves show up, or right as they are on the rim of the town, Ed is an owlbear, mauling our good man of the Flaming Fist. He has gone mad. His personality has shifted permanently ever since then. He has been more angry, impulsive, and he's already started fighting with your father about that time as well. And then suddenly the elves show up, and then we have to deal with more coincidences just appearing in a thin air. And then, quickly as they came, put out the fires, they disappear.
They offered to help us. They put out the fires on Tilda's house.
Why did they come with so many soldiers? Why did they even stop here? If they were going somewhere else, they could have just walked past.
Exactly. They could have just gone around. Why would they occupy the town for 48 hours?
Because Ed killed several of their men. I was not able to get very much information about how this started, but
if they have a whole army, why
well,
not
they are
just
a very
take one
martial
man?
culture.
I still have a question too. Why did Ed kill Mr. Kit?
I don't know. That is also a mystery.
He has a lot of blood on his hands in the last few days.
He does, but he's also still one of the only key points we have for getting answers, so that's why we can't put him down.
Put him down?
Put him down? We can't do that.
That's
why not? With all that blood on his hands, why would we not?
What about the blood on your hands, Julian?
I washed it off.
Maybe he did the same.
I don't think he's capable of washing. I've smelt him for days. And so have you, I'm sure.
All right. When I was speaking with Lord Elsinarot at the manor, I believe several of you were attempting to find my father. I understood that he would not come out, and unfortunately I have not been able to talk with him about why he was unwilling to meet face-to-face with Lord Elsinarot. Were you able to get anything out of him? Did he talk about, I don't know, the beacon that we found with the flaming fists?
No, I brought him upstairs. We found him in the basement when Lord Elsinarot had approached the lady's manor. And all he would do was ramble about, is my daughter safe? Is my daughter safe? And with multiple reassurances, he still would not budge on that thought process. So we could not get anything out of him. I put him on the couch in his office, and I stepped out. And I have not seen him since.
Why did the elves need to talk to your father?
That is a good question. Why come
And Ed.
especially Ed?
You get
Well,
better
because
conversations from a tree stump.
Ed, they are looking for a site of cultural significance. Ed knows where that is. Ed, in return, needed to know information about, I assume, Rick's mother.
Mm-hmm. Uh, across the table, is Rick half elven?
He is.
Okay.
I think I remember a point during that altercation I'm speaking of where Ed leaned in towards my father and just said something like he knows, but there was no further elaboration. I have to assume it was about Lord Alcinerat. And of course, the other thing that we're not talking about is Lord Alcinerat's son, Erlin, who has been turned into some sort of vampire. And Kaysen just said that there was another vampire, a different one, that attacked him.
Yeah, great.
Can't
That's
believe
been
Moraine was right.
He usually is, and I hate to admit it.
If the numbers of vampires are increasing, that means that the Druid Circle to the north, their influence is increasing as well.
Yes, and that's also another problem we need to deal with.
What's the
Unfortunately,
problem?
a problem?
The Druid Circle? Why is that a problem?
I'm talking about the vampires now at this point.
Ah.
Because, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, vampires are just driven by impulse. At some point, they're no more than powerful animals. So, I mean, that's also throwing another. If there's in the town and they're spreading, then that's just another thing we're going to have to deal with. I have no idea how to deal with them in the first place. Rain does.
I think Rain's working for them.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm not sure he knows that he is.
Why would he be working for them? You mean for the Druid Circle?
Yes, for the leader of the Druid Circle, Des,
Yes, correct, yeah.
who is one of the ones turning people.
We should let him know.
We should.
Wouldn't you want to know?
I certainly would. I mean, if he has a primary contact with this person and then they're the one.
If he has a primary contact with this person, that would be a great place to start. But
I'm not sure if he does or not. Knowing Rain's resourcefulness, maybe. Again, I hate to admit it.
DM would love to step in.
So I'm so proud of my players. Your thoughts fall to Rain, and I wonder if maybe a natural consequence of this might be wanting to wake him up. But first, Kaysen, I believe you've been wanting to open the door to the kitchen where you see Mikhail.
Yes. So slightly before Julianne started talking about Kaysen, Kay kind of gave a little knock at the kitchen and stepped in and closed the door. And I think like as he's opening his mouth to try to say stuff, he hears Julianne just like laying him out to dry and is just kind of like, because it's wood floors, there's not a lot of sound insulation. I think he's just kind of standing there like nodding, like trying to get his thoughts in order while waiting for like the conversation level to die down. And he is standing there a bit awkwardly and with just a good amount of shame still, and he's just not sure where to start as he looks Mikhail over.
Mikhail's cutting an onion. He has a ticket there that you assume must be Julianne asked for breakfast, right? So he's there He's there cutting an onion and looks over at you. Do you need something? Do you need food? Did you find my brother? I'm guessing you didn't, or you'd have it here. You'd have him with you, or a different way about you. If you need food, I can bring you something. What is it?
Okay, first of all, stop chopping the onion while I tell you this. I don't want us to have matching hands. Look, I am a stranger to this town, and I don't know how Rick found him.
Great. Where is he? Is he coming home?
His body is by the water wheel.
His
with
what?
the docks.
His. It can't be. What do you mean? His body. There's no way. There's no way.
I'm so sorry.
What, did he drown? He can swim better than you.
It would appear that he might have drowned.
You
He
must
looks
be
like
mistaken. There is no way that you are correct. There is no way. I do not believe you. And I can't believe you would sully his name by talking to him like this. You found his body. His body is up there. That's my brother.
I wish I could have done more, but I was able to cast gentle repose. It should keep Andre at least in a stable state until I'm sorry.
In a stable state. Move out of the way. What do you, by the waterway, you mean to the north of town?
The water wheel
At the
north.
sawmill? His body's by the sawmill? Just move. Get away from me. He tries to shove his way past you. If you're in the main tavern, you watch as Mikhail wordlessly runs out the door. The door is ajar behind him. Jucky, waiting at the T intersection, you watch as the innkeep runs out the front door and, panting, already out of breath, takes off down the northern road. Kaysen, roll religion.
Oh, that is a 20 on die for 22.
With a 20 on die, you realize that you are doing Ilmater's will. It is not easy to be the one to deliver bad news, and it is rarely received well. This is a critical part of being a supplicant of Ilmater, being able to weather the storm of people blaming you, of people refusing to believe what you're saying. You are faithful to Ilmater even as you receive no thanks. And this will not be the last time that someone does not thank you for doing the right thing for them.
Ilmater, I just made a promise that I won't split up from anyone again, so as much as I wish I could, I can't keep an eye on him on the road. Can you please watch over Mikhail as he travels north?
You pray to Ilmater. Time will tell if your prayer is heard. Tilda, you hear this mumbling to the broken god. Do we want to? I was going to suggest maybe we take a $5, but maybe now would be a good time to cut the session, let Rain step in. I think now would be a good time. We were just talking about Rain. Perhaps people might go wake him up or something like that. I think this would be a wonderful transition point. Does that sound good? Yeah, let's do it. Let's cut the session here. And everyone can play next week, is that correct?
Yes.
Lots of nodding. Sarah,
I'm-
questionable?
I'll be in DC. I might be able to play from my hotel room.
If you need a place to play from, you can play from mine also.
Okay.
Wonderful. Just please keep me updated. But yes, thank you for the session. This was wonderful. Good night.